Hi everyone, so this is the second part of the Steven success story. If you've not seen the first one, check it out. It was last week's upload. It's awesome. You'll love it. If you have, well, welcome to the second one. I'll see you there. Bye-bye.
Yeah. And I had this instant where I'm going to cheat because I need to. And you said, I think one time, yeah, I cheated once or twice myself.
Yeah. And it's not even a cheat. It's, if I'm asking people to do things which go counter to everything that their brain is telling them to do spend less time in bed. Everything about that is wrong when it comes to the brain. The brain says, oh, you need to spend more time in bed because everything else in life, the harder you try and the more time you spend, the more chance you have of a success. So that runs counter to everything you know and everything you think about virtually everything in life. So I'm asking you to do that. I'm asking you to do more in the daytime. I'm asking you to do things which are completely out. And so, especially in the early weeks, the brain is just in this really hyper-analyzing stress place. And it's a hard thing to do for anyone to do. And so if someone says, can I just step out the storm for a bit? Then of course step out the storm. Or I use an analogy of a shopping bag. So if you've got two heavy shopping bags and if you put them down again, put them on the floor, pick them up 30 seconds later, they feel 10 times lighter because you've had a bit of a rest, you've had a bit of break, and now you can then continue and carry these shopping bags.
I think that little break helped.
Yeah.
Because it's pretty tough to do all this stuff, and even though it's simple and it works.
Yes.
You're yo-yoing. You called it yo-yoing.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's good. You're still in this moment of chaos. And when you have 2 or 3 nights together that you're not sleeping well, you get tired. But tonight, it's always hard. The only thing about the sleeping pills, you never get any good deep sleep.
Sometimes you just need a break, though. It's just you need the certainty that night, but you're going to have an escape that night. And my aim with people is to get them to the place where they feel that they no longer want or need to take them. And until that stage, then I just let people lead with whatever they want to do. Because if you're really hard, and you said to me, and a great analogy, and I've always used it now, and I've since been speaking to clients, I see you as my guide and not my warden when it comes to this. And I think anything that's strict where you've got a warden saying, if you take a sleeping pill, you're going to cheat and you're going to ruin it and you're going to ruin all the progress and everything's going to catch fire and everything's going to be, and people are just so uptight and stressed. And then that's another more control when it comes to sleep. So I've got to do everything perfectly in order to sleep. And that includes Joe's sleep program. And if I don't do it perfectly, it's not going to work. And then that feeds into the perfectionism when it comes to sleep, the control when it comes to sleep. And your character type, the type A perfectionist, I say it all the time. I have the same clients, perfectionists, overthinkers, analyzing, and this desire and need to do things perfectly is where a lot of the problem and the suffering and the struggle with insomnia stems from. And if I run a really strict, horrible, nasty course with people, and I get a lot of people that have been on one of these insomnia boot camps. Don't do this. It's like they're being hit with a stick to try and they come to me afterwards and go, CBTi doesn't work because I've done, and I listened to what they did before, and I just want to be sick in my mouth. Just like, what an awful experience you've gone through. Of course it's not going to be helpful when you've just had someone kick you in the face to try and get asleep. It's just so that's why I'm not anti-tablets. I say you need what you need at the time. Let's get you to where you need to be, and you need what you need to do at the time, and you don't need to be perfect, good enough. And I always follow that kind of
Well, by the time we got to week 4, I knew I was home free.
Yeah.
Because it was almost magical that after all this struggle, and you realize that you're getting better and better incrementally, and then you have this epiphany. It's like, just stop the bullshit and just live your life. And you kept saying, you remember how you slept before you had insomnia? And I went like, yeah, I'd eat pizza and food. I go to bed whenever I want. I would wake up when I want, blah, blah, blah. I never thought about it. It never crossed my mind if I did this, that, or the other, except maybe the coffee. And now I even drink coffee whenever I want to. But that's been a big change because probably 20 years I had to have coffee no later than 2 o'clock, at least caffeinated coffee.
And you don't take, like I said, you don't take 20 espressos to the eyeballs. you just enjoy a cup of coffee like a human being.
And I don't take any of those energy drinks that are loaded.
Yeah.
I think that would probably screw up my whole system. So whatever it is, I feel like in week 6, we had our talk and we didn't even talk about insomnia or sleep or whatever. We just had a talk.
It's, when you get the message, hang up the phone, it's, if you've got to the point where you're sleeping well and you've let go of your sleep and you've let go of the struggle, then we don't want to keep hammering and fixing something. If you took your car to the mechanic and then they fixed everything and then you took it back in the next day and you said, fix it, you go, that's fixed.
Well, I think you were a little surprised that we kind of solved my case relatively quick or more quickly than most of your clients. But listen, I was pathetic and I was so open to everything that you said. I had to try everything and do everything because it was too horrible to be where I was at. I never want to be in that place again. And you remember, I don't know, but anyway, I think it was after or during the 6th week where I was thumbing through some old files and I looked through the genetic test that I took a few years ago. And I found a sheet of paper on insomnia that I was 100%, which is very rare to be 100% of anything, but I was 100% predisposed for insomnia. And I went like, oh my God, had I known that, I'm glad I didn't realize that before we started. Had I known then, I probably just would have given up and went like, okay, I'm predisposed to insomnia. I have to live with this horror all my life, or the rest of my life.
And then when you realize,
now I just laugh at it like the rhino.
It's physiological, that pattern. And you're just such a classic case of insomnia. You're spending longer in bed. The bed's now become your horror chamber. You're doing far, far less in the day. You're spending all day on Google and obsessing and worrying and analyzing.
Oh, I remember that time.
Tick, 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 every box. And then when it's just the symptoms or the markers of insomnia are the same as someone who's got hay fever or a broken arm. It's all the same symptoms and everyone's doing the same things. And it's so reassuring when people hear that their thoughts and feelings are not unique, and then you get out of it exactly the same way, because everyone thinks that their insomnia is very special to them. There's something very special and unique to my brain, and yet yours was the same as everyone else's and the same as mine, and the same thoughts, the same feelings, the same
I think people
fears.
just suddenly don't want to talk about it very much.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of hurts to talk about it to anybody. I couldn't tell people that I was a fucking wreck because I couldn't sleep. I just pretend like, oh, I didn't sleep well last night.
Yeah.
Well, maybe today I'm a little weird.
Mm. Let's
Like yesterday.
Wow. You can't help being weird. I've been struggling against that for 40 years. I've never managed that. So, I'm sure, some people have it down to a T, not being weird. But I don't know those people. I don't spend any time with them.
I do. I think one thing that helped me kind of get through this a little faster was during week 2 when I was yo-yoing and
Yes.
feeling a little. I don't know if I can do this or not. We talked about anxiety, sleep anxiety, and so I Googled, anxiety or whatever. Now, I'm already doing CBTi, which I'd never heard of. I've heard of CBT. Again, I worked with a gal in the VA that didn't do much for me at all. But the anxiety, like the claustrophobia anxiety,
Yes.
and some anxiety because the first week that I worked with you felt like a month. I wanted to talk to you every day because I'm going like, and then the second week was, it was yo-yoing between good and bad. So I found a doctor that dealt with anxiety.
Mm.
And so I called him and he said, oh yeah, I can help you with that. And he was in Orlando, which is an hour's drive away. And he was talking about he could help me with sleep with using some hypnosis, but basically he practiced EMDR.
Yeah, let's get
I
into
had
that.
I didn't know what EMDR was. Again, I never could.
You snuck to the side again. You're like, this is
okay.
Fucking too into it.
So the EMDR, which is eye movement,
Yeah.
something. And I went like, well, boy, sounds a little hocus pocus. I said, no hypnosis. The hypnosis is, I want to control my brain. I can't leave that to you, So he said, okay, we won't do any hypnosis, but I think the EMDR practice will really help you. So I started to read his reviews, and he had so many reviews that were so positive about all kinds of anxieties that had been exterminated, extinguished, done away with over the course of about 6 or 7 sessions.
Yes.
So I thought, well, that would work with us. And so I called you and said, I'm thinking about going to this doctor that specializes in anxieties, and I haven't met with him yet, but I'm going to next week or something like that. And you emailed me back. Don't have high expectations or something to that effect. I think you aren't really sold on EMDR either.
Well, I looked at his reviews afterwards. I think,
I gave you his name and everything.
yes, and then I said, okay, yeah, that looks good afterwards, because I think, I looked. You sent him across, and I looked at his reviews, and then I thought, okay, yes, this would be very good to help with the claustrophobia when it comes to your sleep. And so after actually, yes, and this was a huge thing, your claustrophobia, when it, not.
The claustrophobia was a big thing. And I have to tell you now that after my, 6 or 7 sessions, I felt better about claustrophobia, but it's not gone.
Mm.
It's less, but it's not gone. And I'm thinking that maybe in a couple of months, I might go back to get a little bit more.
Yeah.
The first session meeting with him was just a talk session. And he was going through things that, what brought on this anxiety, and how did you feel about the blah, 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 and the claustrophobia? What's the first time you remember, any kind of situation where I didn't have control of my arms? Having control, I even have it on my living will, If I ever have any kind of a situation where I don't have control of my arms, please let me die, because I can't stand the horror of the claustrophobia without use of control of my hand. He said basically it's loss of control.
Yes. Yeah.
And one thing is, and as far as that connects with insomnia, part of the reason why I'm a night owl and why I would stay up very late and have a difficult time turning off the television and going to bed was I'm going to miss something. Another piece of news or something's going to happen if I go to sleep.
Right.
And I won't know about it. It's like losing control. It's about control.
Yes. Insomnia is all about control. Yeah, control. You're desperate to get control over something that you have no control over whatsoever. And you just, to really get the understanding that it's this natural physiological process, which people instinctively know before they've had insomnia, because they know they can't force it. They know they can't. But then when they get it, then the control starts and then they want to do more and fix more. And he was spot on when he was saying it was about control and how your claustrophobia was a control issue. And it was, he was really, I think, working together, both us two working together.
I think it was a perfect combination.
Yes.
The very first session that we had together, he wanted to talk about this tonsillectomy that I had at age 6 or 7 years old, back in probably 1955. When in 1955, I'm telling you, they treated kids like they were unfeeling pieces of shit. They never explained anything. They just hoped to did whatever they had to do. They put me on a table. They strapped my legs. They strapped my arms down, and I'm laying there, looking up at a big bright light and these faces with masks on, just doing things to me. They put this big, huge tea strainer over my face, and then it's some ether. They never told me to breathe deep. They never told me what they were doing. They just started doing shit. And it scared the hell out of me. I thought they were trying to kill me. And so when they put the ether on and it started to suck my face up, I started fighting. And somehow I got my legs out of the strap and I was kicking nurses in the face. But that whole event, I never really dealt with all my life until maybe 5 or 6 years ago. And I started getting claustrophobia about this, that, and the other. And I couldn't peg it to anything. But when I went to the VA and started working with the gal there, she was asking about times when I was constrained. And the first time I was constrained, and I was like, when I was like 6 or 7 years old, and she went, I could see this aha moment come on. And so it's a PTSD thing. Right. So what happens is, I never had a problem at the dentist, but for the last 2 years, if they put that light there and I saw one face and another face, and they would put something like one of those things in your mouth to expand your lips, so that, man, I shot out of the, so I'm like, oh, time, I can't do this, Well, and they would figure out a way to get it done without doing all of that stuff.
Yeah.
But it was pretty evident that's the repeat of any scene that's close to that triggers PTSD. I got to fight or fly.
I think that's where a lot of the claustrophobia dealing, because as soon as when the sleep got bad and the bed was in the horror chamber, then it wasn't just the horror chamber. It was the covers on top of you. Then the claustrophobia was kicking in.
You're right. I haven't put that together, but I think you're 100% right.
Bed. Yeah. And also, the going to bed early, all that time of catastrophizing when the amygdala, the rational part of the brain is not functioning, be working well, then the fear and the anxiety would be kicking in from these events. And so this was, I think, a big reason why it was so helpful to be visiting the EMDR guy at the same time as doing, to really deal with this claustrophobia element.
It was like
your insomnia.
3 sessions with him, maybe the third week with you. These things went together, and stuff just started to just fluff off. And yeah,
and now you're here. Let's hear about how things are now. But we stopped. Our last call was 3 weeks ago, a month ago, was it? Our last call. It's been about a month since we last spoke.
it was toward the end of October.
Yeah, so 3 weeks.
Maybe the third week in October is when we had our last conversation.
Yes. How have things been since then in terms of your sleep? And
Sleep is no problem.
Yeah.
It's no problem at all. I sleep. Sometimes I've just slept, like 9 hours just because I could. I wouldn't get up. I went like, I'm just going to stay here. Just enjoy flopping around in my bed. And so what? I look at my phone before I go to bed or when I get up. It doesn't matter if I want to catch some news, if I want to work a crossword puzzle, if I want to watch TV. I get up when I want. I go to bed I go to bed when I'm sleepy.
Mm.
I don't press that anymore. And then I always wake up at 7:30. Even when I was in Cincinnati, and everybody else was asleep, I was up at 7 o'clock.
Yeah. And it's
Been good.
Yeah.
Feeling ready to go.
Once you've learned it, once you know this, and it's such a crazy thing that it's just reverting you back to what you were and getting you back to how you were sleeping, which is why over control when it comes to sleep is such a nonsense, because then it's just, well, I'd never have done this before I had insomnia, so why do I now need to do this now? And now you keep that more or less fixed wake time, but apart from that, you don't do anything really to
I
sleep.
don't think about it.
Yeah.
I don't think about it. I only think about sleep when I yawn. I'm getting okay. It's time to hit the bed.
Yeah.
And just sleep.
Yeah.
However, I have had, in the last, since they've talked maybe 3 weeks to 4 weeks ago, a couple of times.
Yeah.
That I have felt some anxiety.
Mm.
And it's funny, it just comes out of the blue. I'm laying there in bed, and I prop the pillow up, and I go like, okay, I'm going to go to sleep here. And I stick another pillow between my legs. And then maybe I would start to drift off, and there would be some thought, a claustrophobic thought, or probably it was claustrophobic because I feel more I'm a little disappointed that I haven't erased all of this claustrophobia, that there's still, I think probably I've erased maybe 50% of it.
Mm.
One thing that was good about this EMDR is, like you, he says, be kind to yourself. Don't go to all these weird places in your head. And so I was driving the car, and I went like, I think we need to work on this claustrophobia more. And so what's a good thing to think about to bring up the claustrophobia feeling so that we can work on those? And as I'm driving my car to Orlando, my brain refused to do it. I was trying to think of something. My brain was going, I'd go in there and I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
And that's part of the battle.
Yeah.
If you just don't allow negative thoughts and bullshit, the whole thing about be kind to yourself, if you have some kind of weird ass thing, you go like, I'm going to put that over there. Okay. But there comes a point where your brain just refuses to do it.
Mm. And a lot of it,
it's not healthy. So your brain just goes like, I'm not gonna bring up this building that collapsed and you're under the rubble and you can't move your hands anymore.
and
It's like, what's the probability of that? No, don't even.
And the thing is it's not because you ran away from it. It's because actually with EMDR, and a lot of them, even with my work, it's you expose people to fears that they've got around your sleep. Can I still do things in the day after a poor night of sleep? And with your EMDR, it was you were revisiting back the claustrophobic events and you were really delving deep into them until eventually the brain just went, I just do not want to think about this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's similar to the treatments used in obsessive compulsive disorder. You're getting people to, exposure therapy, which I think is very, very helpful when it comes to both claustrophobia and insomnia. And I think the two, when I was so glad to have him, his expertise and work with you to deal with the claustrophobia. And I think if it's 50% and it's already helped this much, then I'd certainly speak to him more, I would say.
And Joe, he's a lot like you in that he lets you experience stuff and kind of figure it out. He did not force stuff or guide you other than, how about we talk about that? How about you think about that experience, and the worst part of that experience was what? But it's a safe place to be because you can get up and fly out of this office at any time you want. And so, you have these, instead of the eye movement thing, he uses two things in your hand. It's connecting the right and left side of the brain. And the claustrophobia is only on one side, and it connects to the horror story part. And you need to connect it to adult reality or whatever. But the amygdala, I guess, is the emotional part of it, right?
Problem solving, and this is the emotional, processes of emotion.
The emotional. So you process it differently, and that's what the things do in your hands. Actually, whenever you're walking and you're pacing, you're doing the same thing: right side, left side, right, as you move in your legs, and that's why it's calming. It's that you're taking something that's really bothering you, like not sleeping, not being able to sleep all night, and you're pacing, and it's calming you down. And same thing, I guess, as this, with your eye movements, whatever. And the same thing with having a little charge go right and left in your hands. But when I did the tonsillectomy thing, I was in tears, with this thing going on. But one really good thing is I could tell these nurses, fuck you for not doing this. Fuck you for doing this to me. I hate your guts. Why didn't you at least tell me to breathe deeply? Why did you just do it? I'm a little kid, for Christ's sake. And saying all that is saying stuff that was pent up that I never said to them, So all that stuff, all that psychiatry stuff, which I never held much regard for. I used to think somebody is depressed. They have a depression, like a lot of these movie stars and stuff that have killed themselves, like Robin Williams. I think he actually had some kind of disease or something. But anyway, I always think of somebody that's depressed. How can you be depressed when you have all the money in the world? You've got friends and fame. You don't have to worry about anything except what's the next role I can play in the movie or whatever. It's like you got the red carpet and walk down it. But they have a depression and they end up killing themselves or taking pills or drinking too much or whatever. And I've never thought very much about it. But I'll tell you this. I could almost kill myself once I was in. If I felt like I could never get out of the insomnia that was ruining my life, I could not live like that more than like another year or so. I just couldn't. I've always felt like I've had a nice life. I'm old as hell, And yeah, there's more good times than maybe. I've been very lucky in my life to be at my age and just not have. I mean, I've got my nephew who's like had a triple bypass. He had cancer in his colon. It's like he's just had all this stuff, and I'm a breeze. I'm just going through life like, hey, every time I get a checkup, you're doing fine. You know? So I'm lucky.
Yeah. And you know, you got out of it. It's
yeah, I'm so glad.
insomnia. Yeah.
I'm back to being my kind of optimistic, happy self.
Yeah.
You know, I've always thought I've been a. Yeah. If I have something bad that happened to me, like my mom dies or something like that, I'm very sad for 3 days. And after 3 days, my body goes like, okay, that's, you know, go back to being normal.
And it's amazing what it can do to you as a person when you've got insomnia, how it completely changes your whole personality. And I think,
yes, it does.
Another layer of suffering is the guilt people attach to the condition of I'm not who I am, or I'm not who I should be, or I'm not the person that I was before this. And that's another thing which makes insomnia so hard. And so I think a lot of times with people just being shown the path out, like you were, and just as you said, when the first week or two where you had that little bit of a belief that there's something real here and it can be escaped and you can get out of this, it's just so helpful to people with insomnia. And I think that's really what these videos, these success stories, if all they do is just show people, look, you're not stuck with this forever. It's and I'm, I had this 20 years and now look what I do. I help people with this. And if I had any anxiety attached to my sleep, I wouldn't be able to do this work, because it would just bring me right back to it. I'd just be going back down the pit. And so I can do this because I'm free of it. And it's just, I think that when people are at their worst and they've got all this guilt and they've got this shame and they've got this suffering and the fatigue and they're stepping back from life and they're fighting and their brain is just against them and at war with them. I think if all this video we've just created is to give people the hope that it doesn't have to be like this and they can be free of this.
There is an escape.
Yeah, there is. And you spend all the time with insomnia looking for that escape hatch. And I think the problem is this escape hatch, this work, it requires a little bit of pushing to open it. And you're so low in confidence that you're just not prepared to do that, because if this doesn't work and I put all that effort in, that's just going to make things even worse. And with supplements and hacks and tips, you can take that. I mean, it's fine because there's no effort to that.
I worry about people because there was, I think I told you this, one late afternoon, I went to a meetup, again, a Zoom meetup, and it was for anxiety. And there were maybe 8 people. There were 8 people on the Zoom meeting. And I felt so bad for them. So many years of dealing with anxiety and insomnia. They all had these stories. They were all the same. It's pathetic. And they cannot find the door. They cannot find an escape hatch. And I mentioned to them that I wanted to join the group. I have been back and I should. But I told them that I was going to try something with a sleep coach. And I explained a bit about you and about. I hadn't even had the first EMDR, but I felt like it's probably worth. If you really have a lot of anxiety, maybe you should take a look at the EMDR. And one guy said, yes, my doctor has recommended that I try CBTi, but I don't know. I've looked at and then if he picks one of these CBTi guys that do what do they call it? Talk therapy, like they did at the VA. He's not going to have any success.
And it's,
you just have to get down in the weeds and listen and experience what they're talking about.
it's hard. It's hard with my work because I have to call it something. And there's been so much bad advice out there. Yeah. It frustrates me a little bit that my channel is not as big as some of the bigger ones, which are just the advice that I knew that if I was watching when I had insomnia, and it just made me more anxious and worried. And I think, well, but it's.
I got the feeling from the people on the Zoom thing that maybe they had tried. They didn't say a whole lot. That maybe they had tried a little. At least one guy spoke up.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't even try it, or at least he said his doctor recommended it. But
yeah, you've got no confidence, and I think when I first started this, I was a bit naive, and I thought, I'd say this, and everyone would follow through and do it, and they'd do it. And I've just come to the realization you can help maybe 5% of people who are actually at that place now and have made the choice to commit to it and do it. And you first need to give them the hope that it can be overcome to actually start down the path. And then it's up to them really to well, something I've said a lot, and that there's no lifeboat that comes to save you with this condition. It is, I can make things as easy for people as possible, but I can't do it for people. But people that do it, and they do it, with patience and kindness, they do get out of it.
I don't think you can talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
The only way that you're going to have the anxiety about sleep slough off is to actually experience what it is that you're talking about. Listen to what you're saying, let that roll around your head, and the next time you're laying in the bed and you've got all this bullshit happening in your head, get up. Don't let that happen. Listen to what you're saying. Pick a time that you want to get up, and doesn't matter what time you fall asleep, and get up at that time. Go outside. Even barefoot is better, You know that?
Barefoot, yeah.
Barefoot is better because you've got the sun, and then you've got your feet on the ground. And from everything, a lot of stuff that I've read, and then I tried it, and I'm like, I think that's probably true. Barefoot helps. But you got to be like in someplace like Florida in the summer.
Yes.
Or even Florida in the winter, but if you can't be barefoot.
Or Philippines.
In the Philippines.
But we got ants the size of...
You can skateboard on them.
Oh, it's not like Australia, but there are things everywhere. You just think, oh, we like to hear that. Yeah. Any final tips and advice, closing remarks for people, just to...
I think that you have to be very comfortable with your coach, even if in the first week you don't really, you're not there yet. Stick with it. If you've got somebody like you, if they start talking about don't drink coffee after 2:00, and you better have some chamomile tea before you go to bed, and your bed has to be this way, or, hold your nose like this, or whatever they tell you. Don't fall for hocus pocus. Just the real people, and you can tell. I think one of the reasons I like you is I could tell that you really care about what and how you do this. And it's not the money, it's the success that you're looking for.
Mhm.
And I just think that, well, I don't know, people that are desperate, and I was desperate, I probably wouldn't have worked with you very long if I felt like you were a snake oil salesman. People sense it.
Yeah.
It's like when I walked in and they told me, "Oh yeah, you got sleep apnea." I was going to say, "No, I don't. I don't need your fucking machine."
It's why I like the YouTube channel. People make up their own minds. They watch the videos. If they like them, they like them. If they don't, they can spit them out on the carpet and go elsewhere and watch something else. And so they already know what they're getting and who I am before they work with me. So you don't have to sell it to people. If you're in the place and you're motivated.
You have to have an aura, I think, about you, and you have it.
Mm.
You have an aura of being truthful and helpful, and and I think that's winning the battle is, probably 80% is the personality first. And then if you're talking something that's real, and does help, the people that you're helping will quickly latch on.
Mm. Well, before my head gets too big.
No, I mean, that's not just true.
Yeah.
It's a true thing. It's being human and caring.
Mm. I think
and slow. And
it stems from I had it so long, and when I actually got out of it, I was just so grateful to the person that helped me, because she was just so amazing. She was just wonderful at everything, and she was everything that you're saying. And I just thought, well, I want to be that person, and I couldn't to not be good at it, just to do it and just not actually help people. I'd rather not do it at all, or if you're either good at, you either do it properly or you don't do it at all. And it's I need to actually get the success from people to know that, or I'm doing it right, and everything is I couldn't do it if I wasn't good at it, because I couldn't give people the false hope, and because I know what it's like when you've got
you're talking from your heart, and from your heart and from your experience, and so that's what comes across.
Right. Yeah. Well, thank you, and thanks for being on the channel and giving people that hope and belief that this can be overcome, because it can. And I'm always truthful with this. It's simple. You said the word simple, but it's not easy.
It's not easy, but the things that are simple are usually not easy.
Yeah, it does take some, but living with insomnia is not easy. And it when you're free of it, you go, that was worth 100 times. What I had to do to get out of it, I'd do it 100 times over. And I think that's just that realization that, when things are
with this in particular, everybody is bringing a lot of baggage to. They've tried a lot of stuff and probably looked at a lot of YouTube things, and they've got so much baggage.
Yeah.
that they have to get rid of in order to finally experience something that works. I think that's the tough job.
Digging through the crap because people have just they've had their confidence knocked so much. But that is the trick.
They've tried everything. They've tried sleeping pills, and they've tried going to a psychologist and a psychiatrist, and they maybe have spent thousands and thousands of dollars trying to, and probably they have a chest full of sleeping pills of one kind or another. And so here's this smiling face saying, do this.
Yeah.
Just do this. It's like, I mean, he can't be.
Alrighty. Thank you very much.
Grab that nut, dude, for free.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
sir.
Stephen. And everyone else watching, please comment in the comment section. Let Stephen know if he's helped you. And ask questions because it helped the channel grow. And I answer them for free. So you basically get free sleep advice when you answer questions. When you ask questions on this channel. So don't be shy. It helps the channel. It helps me. It helps people reading them. So it's good for everyone. Whack them down. And as always, see you on the next video. Bye.